if you look at a country and the country is freaking garbage, right? The food sucks. The infrastructure is garbage. The streets are filthy. There's beggars everywhere. That country sucks. That country sucks ass. When you see a country that's clean, where you don't see beggars everywhere, there's not a lot of crime, that society tends to be more reliant, right? You can rely more on that society. One thing I've noticed about countries that really suck is that nobody trusts anybody. That's one thing I've noticed about countries that really, really suck. There's beggars everywhere, there's high crime, there's just garbage everywhere, it's shit. No one trusts anybody. And why doesn't anyone trust anybody? Why? Because the reason why people are paranoid about other people is because they can't even trust themselves. That's truly what it is. If someone says, you must be a thief, there's a good chance that that person would also be a thief if he could get away with it. Because people tend to think that others think like them. That's the problem with a lot of people. They tend to think that others think like them. So if someone comes up to you and they're like, I think you're a thief, I can't trust you, or I think that you're going to backstab me, many times that is a reflection of them. That really means that this guy would backstab you if he had a chance. This guy would screw you over if he had a chance. One thing about third world countries I've noticed is that there's a lack of trust amongst people. That's one thing I've noticed. That there's a huge lack of trust amongst people. And what worries me about America is that you're starting to see that in the United States. You've been seeing that for a while now, where the trust in neighbors, trusting each other, has declined. And why has it declined? The reason why it's declined is because of crime. That's the reason why. There used to be a time in America where hitchhiking was very common. People hitchhiked all the time. College students, they would hitchhike. Why? Because it was a convenient way to get around. I'll just hitchhike. It was like Uber back in the 70s was just hitchhiking. I'll hitchhike a ride. How come you never see hitchhikers? You don't see hitchhikers anymore. Have you ever wondered why? It's very obvious why. Because of serial killers. That's the reason why. Serial killers are the reasons why people like Edward, what's his name? Edward Camping. People like that are the reason why people don't hitchhike anymore. Is that his name? Edward Kemper. Guys like that. That's the reason why you don't have people hitchhiking anymore. People like that, because they would pick up hitchhikers and they would murder them. And the question is why were there so many hitchhikers? Because people didn't think that there could be a serial killer around. They didn't think that. Because society in America for a long time was actually kind of safe. I remember my grandmother telling me when she was growing up in the, she was growing up in the 40s and 50s. I mean, she would go out as a little girl into the forest and explore and look at trees and look at a lake. And she said the thought, and she said that my parents allowed me to do that because the thought of a rapist or a serial killer popping up was unthinkable. People didn't think about that stuff in those days. A lot of that began to change in the 70s and the 80s. Why, for example, you go into a store, and now it's becoming more and more common, and they're putting things like toothbrushes and toothpaste behind cages, and you have to get an employee to open up the cage for you so you can get the product that you want. Why are we seeing that in the United States? Because of thieves. That's the reason why. So what's happening? What's happening is trust is eroding. Our sense of trust is declining. It's decaying. And the crime that we've been seeing has been very corrosive on our sense of trust, because there's so many people who want to filch, and they want to pilfer. And those are old English words that we don't use anymore. Filch and pilfer literally mean to steal. There's a lot of English words that are old English words that sound really cool, by the way. They sound very nice, and they have very simple meanings, and we don't use them anymore. So we usually just say steal, shoplifting. Sometimes we can say, or we say rob, right? Rob, shoplifting, steal. Sometimes we say thieving. That's not as common though. But there's two other English words that I learned that mean to steal: pilfer and filch. Yeah, a lot of people want to pilfer. A lot of people want to filch. Literally, those two words both mean to steal: pilfer and filch. So a lot of pilferers and a lot of filchers, and it's another English way of saying thieves. And that has declined. That has brought down our sense of trust in society. So, why do credit card companies have to have all of the mechanisms to prevent credit card theft, or to prevent people stealing money from the accounts from credit cards that they have stolen? Because credit card theft is very common. Identity theft is very common. Sounds like two cartoon characters. Yeah, filch and pilfer. Filch, you got correct. Pilfer is, you got it right except for the U. It's give rid of the U and you have pilfer. Pilfer, pilfer. Pilfer and finch, yes. Yep, thieves. Good words I like. Grifter. So our sense of trust is declining. I'll tell you guys a story that happened to me this week. It's really a funny story. So I went to the garden store. I went to the nursery to get some herbs, to get some oregano. I've expanded my oregano plot. So I have a somewhat large oregano patch, because oregano is a huge part of the Middle Eastern diet. So I've expanded my oregano plot. So I went to the nursery to buy oregano plants to plant them in the ground. And yeah, so I went to the garden nursery to buy oregano, and I got my oregano plants. So I went to the car, and I'm putting the oregano plants in the back, in the trunk. All of a sudden, I hear this car driving right behind me. I hear this car driving up behind me. Let me rewind real quick. The lady at the store told me that shoplifting is becoming more and more common in the store, in the home improvement store. And she said people are stealing power tools and things like that. And so now they're having to put certain products behind bars because it's becoming more common for people to steal. So I hear this, and I'm putting the oregano plants in the trunk, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, crime is going up. The thievery is increasing. This is not good. And as I'm thinking this, I hear a car drive up right behind me. A car right behind me. And I hear, "Hey, amigo," in this perfect Mexican accent. So I'm thinking it's a Mexican guy right behind me. And I'm thinking in my mind, oh God, I hope I don't get robbed. I turn around and I see this guy. He's in his car. He's in a white vehicle. It looks like a mix between a Hummer and a van. It's a design that I've honestly never seen before. And he looked 100% Middle Eastern. I mean 100%. He looked like he came straight out of Lebanon. And I know the difference between a Mexican and a Middle Easterner. And he has a phone in his hand. He has an iPhone in his hand. And he says, "You want to buy cell phone, $50. I give you cell phone, $50. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this is a Middle Eastern dude who is selling me a stolen cell phone. And I said, I'm not interested. And he just drove right off. I should have gotten his plates, but he was fast. He just drove right off. So I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here? What's going on, guys? You got Middle Eastern people in America stealing cell phones and selling them on the street for $50. It's crazy. What's going on? Shoplifting is becoming very common to the point where you have major convenience stores closing down certain locations and then refusing to build locations in particular areas. And then people wonder why. We got food deserts. This is food injustice. Food injustice, man. We got food injustice. The reason why our people are obese, we dying of heart disease and diabetes, is because of food deserts. They don't allow good quality food. We got to buy our food from the local corner store. We got to buy our food from the local corner store, the local gas station, man. That's the only place I got to go get my groceries, man. How come there ain't no Walmart here? And then somebody whispers into these people's ears, "Oh, it's because of racism." Yeah, that's the reason why. It's because of racism. No, it has nothing to do with racism. It's because they don't want to lose money. And putting a store in your neighborhood is bad for business. It's a bad investment. That's it. Bottom line. Get rid of crime, stop stealing, and you will see Whole Foods and Walmart in your area guaranteed. As prices go up, expect the number of robberies to go up as well. It has nothing to do with the prices. It has nothing to do with the prices. Believe me. It's got nothing to do with the prices. You have people who want to steal, and they don't steal food. They're not stealing food. They're stealing toothpaste. They're stealing toothbrushes. They're stealing shoes. That's what it is. They're stealing all these things. You know why? They pawn them. That's the reason why. They pawn them. They go out and listen, at the Apple store that I go to sometimes to get my computer fixed up if I have a problem with my computer, or to buy a phone, which I will do probably in the next 20 years if I'm still alive then. At the Apple store that I usually go to, they have now a police officer. They have a police officer that's there the entire time, and he's armed with a gun. And I remember the last time I went there to buy a computer, I walked right in, and a lot of times people get an appointment and things like that. I said, I'm here to buy a computer. I walk right in there, and without an appointment, and this police officer just kept looking at me the whole time. Now, I don't blame him. He may think that I'm some kind of a terrorist, or I'm there to steal phones to sell them for $50 in a shopping center somewhere. I don't blame the guy. I'm not going to say, oh, racism, but he kept looking at me. And, when he noticed that I was serious about buying something, he relaxed. He calmed down. And, but they have a cop there. You know why they have a cop there? Because you have people going in there and they're stealing phones and they're pawning them. That's what's going on. They're going in there and they're stealing phones. And you have people in Japan, Korea, who are saying, when we go into an electronics store, there's no chain connecting the phone to the table. There's no wire. There's no bars. Why? Because people aren't stealing shit because they're selfish bastards who want to make money quick at the expense of others. It's sick what's happening. But yes, this is the decline of America. That's what it is. The lack of trust in society. That's what's taking place right now, is this immense lack of trust, where neighbors don't even talk to each other anymore. People don't talk to each other that much. It's crazy, guys. It really is crazy. It's the decline of the trust. When you have a lack of trust in American society, when you have a lack of trust in society, the society will decline. The society will eventually decline when you don't have trust, when you don't have cohesiveness. And when that cohesiveness declines, then it's difficult. It makes it more difficult to function. The lack of trust stems from increased isolation, loneliness, and anti-socialism. I think that is a part of it. I think that definitely plays a role in how our society is. It's not just the robbery. I don't think robberies have anything to do with isolation, because robbery is a different type of crime that I don't think stems from social isolation. I think robbery stems from opportunity. And by that, I don't mean there's a lack of opportunity. I mean that when laws are laxed, people steal. You have to make harsh laws against thieves. And by harsh, I mean, I think the government needs to go. I really believe this. I don't mean this to troll people or to sound edgy. I really believe the government needs to refer to Old Testament law when it comes to robbery. I think if the Old Testament says if someone steals, you cut their hands off. And this is also in Sharia law as well, so you could take something from the Muslims. I think the government needs to go back to, it needs to reference and to recourse back, or needs to impose Old Testament law when it comes to robbery. I think if you're now again, if you're starving, but no one's starving in America, so let's just throw that bullshit out the window. If you're going into a store and you're stealing Gucci purses and super expensive clothes so you can pawn them, if you're stealing cell phones, computers, toothbrushes so you can go out and pawn them, if you're stealing thousands of dollars worth of clothes, I think the government should impose Old Testament law. And those people need to be arrested, tried, and when they are found guilty, because all we got to do is look at the store security cameras and we can see your dumbass stealing thousands of dollars worth in purses. One of your hands is gonna go. You want to fix the thievery problem in America? Oh, it's a lack of education. It's a lack of education. It's poverty in America. They're starving. They're starving. Yeah, they're all fat off KFC and dying of heart disease. Give me a break. They're not. It's not because of poverty. It's because of they see an opportunity to steal and they steal. Lax laws. If you know, hey, if I steal, I could lose one of my hands. You ain't gonna steal shit. Because you want to keep both of your dumbass hands, right? Your dumbass wants to keep both of those hands. So you think people are going to steal if they know one of their hands are going to get lobbed off? Hell no. So the Old Testament... See, the thing about Old Testament law, people look at it and they say, oh, Old Testament law is so harsh. People get their hands chopped off for stealing. Think of Old Testament law this way. This is how I see it. I think this is how the ancient Jews also saw it. They want to... This is how the ancient Jews, I think, saw it as well. I believe in having very harsh laws against certain crimes. Not just to impose and inflict heavy punishment, but to prevent crime. Think of it this way. Our murder rate in the United States will fluctuate between, I want to say, 5 to 7 murders per 100,000 people. It's somewhere around there, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've read that in some years the murder rate in America has been 5 murders or 5 point something murders per 100,000. And then in 2020, I think it went up to 7 murders per 100,000, which is a lot actually. It's not impressive. It's not as bad as some other countries, but it's not impressive. But you look at the murder rate of, let's say, Saudi Arabia. The murder rate of Saudi Arabia is about 0 point something per 100,000 people. There's a very, very low murder rate in Saudi Arabia. There's also a very low rate of thievery. That's why, for example, people will go to Friday prayers in Saudi Arabia and they leave the doors of their businesses unlocked. They're not worried about people robbing their businesses. Why are they not worried about people robbing their businesses? Well, you could say, and this is definitely a factor, there's a collective religion in Saudi Arabia, right? Everyone is Muslim. Almost everybody is Muslim in Saudi Arabia. So why would you rob your fellow Muslim? And the other thing also is that they are united by a moral code. So it's haram to steal, so don't steal. And that moral code is instilled into people from a very young age. It's haram to steal, especially from a fellow Muslim. So why would you do that? Okay. But also, if you get caught stealing, you're going to lose one of your hands. So why would you do that? Now if you think, well, if I steal something, then it's going to be a misdemeanor crime, and I'll be in prison for 9 months or something like that, and I have to do some dozens of years of community service, and then I'm back out on the street. I have both of my hands, and I have this willpower to steal, so I'm going to go steal again. It's going to be a misdemeanor crime anyway. But if you know damn well, if I steal something, if I steal this phone, and I get caught, my hand is going to be put on a chopping block and they're going to hit me with an axe. And I've seen it. I saw a video from Syria where these Syrian rebels imposed Sharia law. And I saw a video of a guy literally losing a hand. It's freaking horrifying. This guy loses. I mean, you can see his face. He's terrified. They put his arm on the block and I saw a video of it from Syria. I said, oh my God. But think about it. You chop off the hand of one thief. What are the other thieves going to do? Oh, man, I don't know about that, man. I don't want to lose my hands, man. I gotta keep... I mean, you're going to lose one of your hands. What are you going to do? You can't go to your baby's mama and grab her titties. You can't do that. You ain't grab. Ain't no titty grabbing for you. You ain't gonna grab no titties. You got no hand. What are you gonna do? Then if you steal again, you lose your other hand. Now you really can't grab no titties. So you're kaput. So well, you're done. You can't steal. I'm gonna go steal. The reason why I steal because there's a lack of opportunity. I'm hungry. If you know damn well you're gonna lose one of your hands, your ass gonna go to community college. Your ass gonna get a job at McDonald's or KFC or wherever the hell you want to work. You ass gonna work. Why? I don't want to lose my hand. Yes, sir. No, sir. No, I ain't gonna steal. You sure? I ain't gonna steal, sir. Oh no, sir. I ain't gonna steal. Go steal. You best not steal. You ain't gonna grab no titties tonight because you ain't gonna have no hands. No prison time. Oh, prison for steal. No. You chop one of them hands off. That's it. You chop a hand off, and that's it. You ain't gonna steal. Harsh punishments work because they prevent. Now, what I find so funny is that you have people saying the death penalty doesn't work in America because crime is still here. Crime is still here. So how can it work? Well, Saudi Arabia has a death penalty, and they have very low crime. There's no death penalty in the United States. You're telling me that 12 people being executed every year in this country is a death penalty? That's not a death penalty. That's just some figurative stuff. That's just a policy. It's a figurative policy to make people think, oh wow, Texas, yeah, we just killed some child rapists. And now, listen, the people that the state of Texas executes every year freaking deserve it. They deserve it. But again, if you want to talk about a serious policy of the death penalty, a lot more than 12 people are going to be executed in this country. Saudi Arabia executes people all the time. They on the chop square all the time. They got people. It's like every day, every week they got somebody lined up for the chop square. And I think it should be televised. I think I think there should be a hand chopping imposition in the United States done by the state. And it should be televised for the entire nation to see. This Friday, Jamal Brooks is going to be live on television. Oh, Jamal Brooks, is he going to be a boxing match? No, it's going to be a hand chopping match. Yep. And that's it. That you get rid of the crime rate down. Here is the problem with allowing crime. I mean, there's an obvious problem to allowing crime, right? People suffer when you allow crime. People suffer when you are lax towards crime. And crime increases. But it has other consequences that go beyond just the suffering of the victims. And again, that should not be belittled in any way. The suffering of the victims is reason enough to impose harsh crimes. But my point is that there are other consequences that take place other than the suffering of the immediate victims. There are other victims that happen that are made as a result of tolerating crime. For example, we've all heard stories in the news of certain department stores being closed down in certain areas, and people who aren't thieves suffer. They say, well, where am I going to get my groceries? I'm going to have to take a bus and go to a different city to get my groceries. And why is that happening? Because you are lax. The society is lax towards thievery. Another type of suffering that is a result of being lax towards thievery is a lack of trust in society. You destroy the trust in society. And a society that cannot trust itself is not a functioning society. It's not a functioning society. A society that does not have cohesiveness is not a society. At that point, it's just a big money-making market to help the GDP of the country. It's not really a society. A society needs to... And people say, well, freedom. You cannot be free if you do not feel safe. You have to take away the freedoms of criminals in order for your society to have freedom. If you do not take away the freedom of criminals, if you do not take away the rights of criminals, you cannot have freedom. You can't have true freedom. Because if I go outside and I have a fear that, hey, I'm going to be shot by some psychopath who hates his mother, or I'm going to be robbed, that's not freedom. That's not freedom. You should feel safe. when you're outside. You should have a sense of being safe. If you have to go out with the sense that someone's going to rob your child because they want to rape your child, and yes, this does happen, that's not freedom. You should live in a society where you know that justice is going to be imposed. You should live in a society where you know that the criminals are terrified of their lives and not you scared for your life. If you have more fear than the criminals, that's not a society. That's not freedom. That's not freedom. That's not freedom. That's just living in fear. You can't live in fear. Fear is not freedom. And when there is no unity, when there is this lack of trust between your countrymen, then what happens is your culture goes down. What culture do you have without community? You need community. Without community, there is no culture. So everything declines as a result of being lax towards criminals and lax towards certain crimes, lax towards crime in general. I think if you steal somebody's car, you should probably lose both of your hands. Because guess what? Somebody worked really hard for that car. Somebody was paying the loan for that car. Somebody was working their ass off to pay the loan for that car. And now you've stolen that car from them. All their hard-earned work, all of their life, all the hours that they've wasted to put money into that car, you've taken that away from them. You have raped that person's soul. You should lose your fucking hands. And you should suffer tremendously for it. It's people like, well, it's not murder. You've devastated that human being. You've devastated that human being. Most people struggle to pay the car loan, to pay the house loan. And if you take that away from somebody and ruin their lives and force them to start from scratch almost, I mean, you should be punished absolutely hard. 12 months in prison. No, fuck that. You lose your hands. That's it. You lose your hands. That's it. Done. You're done. That's it. But that's never going to happen in America, right? This is a little dream that I have in my mind. I wish that we can impose a little bit of Middle Eastern justice. We can learn something from the Middle East. And Americans will look at Arabs and they'll say, look at them savages over there. Meanwhile, here in America, we're terrified of. We got toothpaste behind bars because we're worried about somebody stealing them. You can learn something from the Arab world. Truly, you can make America a better civilization by learning from the Middle East. Learning from the Middle East. If there's some good thing, I know there's dysfunction in the Middle East, don't get me wrong, but there are good things that you can learn from the Middle East. There's two good things that you can learn from the Middle East. One is harsh punishment, and two is living below your means. Because Middle Eastern people, they can be really good at living below their means, but it's never going to happen. But this is my dream. My dream is to see these punishments in America. My dream is to see these punishments in America. All this craziness that you see in America, all the craziness that conservatives are angry about. Oh, you see what they're doing in a library. They got kids being read a book by some weirdo. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. All that stuff will go away if you just read the law of the ancient Semitic people, read the Old Testament, see what it says. That's what you do. And you'll bring order. You'll bring order. That's it. You want order? We all need a mini American Saddam Hussein. That's what we need in America. We need a little bit of a Saddam Hussein in the United States. And you'll get rid of the problem. School shooters? What school shooters? What? You shoot up a school, you die. There's no interviews. There's no media attention. There's no, we got a psychiatrist to come and look at the guy. His childhood, his mother didn't talk to him. His father left the house at a very young age. His parents were divorced. He's on medication. He says, and then they bring some psychiatrist from New Jersey to come talk in front of a camera. Well, by looking at the videos and by looking at the person's mannerisms, I determined that this person is a clear-cut textbook case of psychopathy. That's what we're seeing. This is a case of psychopathy. This person is not in his right mind, and he needs medication. He needs to be under strict supervision because he is not in his right mind. He is definitely clinically insane, and I believe that the defense attorney needs to use these facts for his client. That's what's gonna help. Bring some Middle Eastern dictator over. He's like, no, put him in loose. No, burn. No, put him in pit. Put gasoline on him and and deal with him. That's it. He become ashes. Make him a fireplace. He'll become my fireplace. That's it. No, that's it. Done. And that's it. Done. Deal with the problem. That way, when somebody wants to shoot up a school, they say, well, if I shoot up a school and I get caught, you mean I'm not going to get celebrity status? Nope. I'm not going to get love letters from women who are attracted to murderers? Nope. You mean I'm not going to get the cameras on me? Nope. You mean I'm not going to get interviewed by some YouTube channel? Nope. You mean I'm not going to get interviewed by 60 Minutes? Nope. You mean I'm not going to have politicians talk about me when they argue about the Second Amendment? Nope. So what's going to happen to me if I shoot up a school? You're going to die. You're going to get a bullet right in the head, or you're going to have a noose around your neck, or you're going to be put into a giant furnace, or you're going to be fed alive to starving lions, just like Nebuchadnezzar did to his enemies. Really? No psychiatrist is going to come and... Nope, no psychiatrist is going to come to talk to you. You're going to die. So make your decision. Done. Done. You fix the problem right there. You got to make criminals think twice. There was an interview that I saw of Bashar al-Assad many years ago when the civil war in Syria first broke out, and this Middle Eastern journalist interviewed Bashar al-Assad, or I forgot what nationality the journalist was, to be honest with you, but some journalist interviewed Bashar al-Assad, and the journalist said, "Bashar, how come you don't have any bodyguards?" Do you know what Bashar al-Assad said? He said, "The mark of a safe society is the absence of the need for security. If the society is safe, there's no need to have a bodyguard." It's Persian music, yes. I can send you the link for the video if you're interested. Here, I'll put the link for the video. Hold up. Yeah, we can learn something from the Middle East, guys. Starving pigs. I mean, that works. That's it. 100% true. Vico Simic. Absolutely. Theodore is too idealistic? Maybe. But you can't argue that what I'm proposing is not practical. It's very practical. But, you know, back in America, they used to kill horse thieves. If somebody stole somebody's horse, the state would execute you. They need to bring that back for car thieves. That's what I think. That's what I believe. The state, of course. This should be completely through state legislation.